Hi, everyone. So we'll wait about another minute to allow everyone to enter the session before we get started. So we'll start about 12:02. I think there we go. All righty, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for coming to the student involvement parent webinar. We hope you enjoy our session and you get to learn a lot about the Center for Student Involvement Office, opportunities for your student to get involved and connect with our staff, from leadership programs to student organizations. If you have questions at all during the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We also will have a live Q&A after, so once we finish the presentation, you're more than welcome to unmute or raise your hand so we can get your questions answered. So during the presentation, if you could just keep yourself off mute, but feel free to enter those questions into the chat. So welcome, and my name is Lori Salazar. I'm the Associate Director for the Center for Student Involvement, and I'll kick it off to Tanya just to say hi to you all and introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tanya Torres. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Assistant Director for Student Leadership at the Center for Student Involvement.
Awesome. So we will be co-presenting together. There's a lot of information on this first slide just because we want you to know all things on how to see our social media and our website. So if you go to the Center for Student Involvement website, we have a quick introduction video for what the CSI office is and what we do. It's a little bit less than 3 minutes, so you can always direct your student to visit the link because less than 3 minutes and they're able to know more about the office. Also feel free to follow us on social media. I know orientation has social media channels as well. So I know your students might be following them, but for sure you can follow us as well so you can see programs during the academic year that we're doing or be able to find any tips or as we highlight students as well. So the rest of our student CSI team, Center for Student Involvement, we have Ted, who is our director. If you've been going through the Bronco prep guides, he's the one that is sending those out for you all. So super awesome. He works on a lot of our team, but then also works a lot with students when it comes to involvement opportunities and being able to work with contracts or help when our concert comes onto campus, definitely assists with all the things for programming in order for really CSI to be to run and be successful. Tanya and I introduced ourselves. Cameron Barrio, you might have gotten emails from him, or if you're emailing the orientation at scu.edu email, he might be the one that is responding along with his orientation leaders. We currently don't have an assistant director for student organizations. So if you have any student club questions, feel free to contact me or have your student contact me. And then we have Arcelia. A lot of our students will get to know her once you're involved in a club because they'll most likely come to her for finance questions or reimbursements. She is really what helps the CSI run with our budget and all things finance, from our programs to reimbursements and even student stipends. So we couldn't do it without her. To start off, we have registered student organizations. We'll often refer to them as RSOs, just for short. We have over 160 RSOs. at the Center for Student Involvement, and we have a variety of different programming throughout the academic year to really promote our student organizations, whether it's an involvement fair or having them table for specific events. And if your student goes during lunch or breakfast or dinner over to Benson, they'll most likely see a few student organizations there tabling for events that are happening, or any questions, sign up for a newsletter, offering new members swag, free food, things like that. So make sure they also stop by Benson and our involvement fair, which we have more information on our website. But a variety of different student clubs, from academic to service, special interest, performing. So with that, we have our RSO student directory. So your student is able to go on the directory. You can go on it as well, and you can type in keywords. So if you're looking for tennis, or you're looking for Pokemon Club or book club, you're able to type it in, or go through filters or the little search bar, and you're able to add those in and be able to see our student organizations. A lot of them have put videos out there. You can quickly contact them through a link, or also follow their social media. Some questions we do often get is about our Greek organizations. So at Santa Clara, Greek Life is not affiliated with SCU. So unfortunately, we don't have any information to connect you if your student was interested in a social Greek organization. We do have academic and professional organizations. We just don't currently support the social Greek organizations because they're not recognized at SCU. If your student wishes to start a new club, which I know many will, when they enter their first year and they're looking for the clubs to get involved, and there might be something that is for their hobby or their niche or their major, and they're like, hey, we don't have a club currently for this specific topic or area, they can meet with us at Center for Student Involvement, and we can get them to be a provisional student organization, which just means they're going through the process to become a full registered student organization. We'll be supporting them along the way to create the foundation of their club, think about financing in the future, their goals, all of those things, and then we'll get voted on every spring quarter to become a new student organization. Now kick it off to Tanya for chartered student organizations.
Thank you, Lori. So there are 9 chartered student organizations on campus. The thing I like to say that makes the chartered student organizations, the CSOs, different to the RSOs is that they are institutionally supported. And by this, I mean that they have a staff advisor assigned to them. So actually, Laura, can you go back to the first slide? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All good. I'll go through them really quick. So on this page, we have 4 of the CSOs listed. APP, the Activities Program Board, they do programs for the campus community such as craft nights, movie nights, carnivals, concerts. When your student moves onto campus that welcome weekend, APB will be doing some welcome events. So the Chartered Student Organization will be there, and you'll have an opportunity to meet them. ASG is the Associated Student Government. They represent, they are the representative body of the undergraduate community. So kind of like the any issues that come on campus in terms of academics, community climate, the ASG student body will get together and deliberate and try to make sense of what is going on at the university and what are some recommendations to support students. Into the Wild is kind of what I like to call the off-campus explorer program. So they go into they do hiking, camping within the local Bay Area region and outside certain areas of California for folks that are really into nature. KSCU is our local student operated radio station, and they hold concerts throughout, small DJ concerts, not like White Scale, but they have mini concerts throughout campus for students that are really into hands-on radio and broadcasting. Next slide, please. The MCC is the multicultural center. They are the multicultural programming body at Santa Clara. SCAP is the Santa Clara Community Action Program. They're a community-based social justice organization. I am actually the advisor for SCAP. The Santa Clara Review is a biannual literary magazine, a magazine full of student art, poetry, spoken word, written word and spoken word, and expression. The redwood is our university yearbook, and the Santa Clara is our weekly newsletter. Each of these CSOs have a staff advisor assigned to them, and they have a budget that is supported by the institution to do programs for the campus community. RSOs have one advisor assigned to them, which is the assistant director for student organizations, while CSOs have a specific staff member. And their programs tend to be on a much larger scale just because they're meant to encompass the larger campus community. So in addition to our clubs and student organizations, we also have leadership programs, and this actually falls under my purview. So right here on this slide, we have the Emerging Leaders Program. So the Emerging Leaders Program is a class that is available to incoming new students, so first year transfer students. And it's a chance for students to understand what leadership means in the idea of a Jesuit education and Jesuit values. So Santa Clara, you'll hear these terms a lot of Ignatian spirituality, cura personalis, compassion, commitment, are values that really embody the liberal education that Santa Clara offers. This class is meant to take it a step further. What does leadership mean under these values? How do we understand leadership through a social change? So we're trying to create well-rounded citizens and global caring people. This course is traditionally offered in the fall and the spring. However, we are currently going through some restructuring, so I'm not entirely sure if it will be offered in the fall. More information to come. However, students are welcome to email me for further details. I actually taught this course this past spring, and we had a total of 18 students. So it's a good group of students to really get to know the campus community and each other. In addition to the Emerging Leaders, we have a conference, Fem Empowerment Conference, which can be also be substituted as the Women's Leadership Conference. So it's an opportunity for student leaders on campus to get to know one another who identify as women, femme, gender nonconforming, queer, and create a space in which they can talk about leadership specific to their own identities. So what does it mean to be a leader on campus that quote unquote holds a marginalized identity? So whether it be a woman of color, a queer person, a person with a disability. So creating spaces to understand leadership through a new context.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanya. Bronco Exchange, wanted to throw in a quick plug. Your student is going through their summer orientation through our Bronco Exchange interactive website, and they can also add it to their phone. So if your student hasn't talked about it yet, just make sure they are logged into Bronco Exchange. There are a variety of different events that are happening. So this is just a sample of what my Bronco Exchange looks like. So your student might look a little bit different, but they can join groups, they can go to a forum or see questions that are answered, and they can also post questions, and orientation leaders, so our students, will be answering those. They'll also be able to go to events. And so there's roughly about 3 programs that are happening each day throughout July and August for your student to be able to log in via Zoom. And it's a variety of different events that are occurring. So anything from, I think there was like a TikTok one, other ones are like networking based kind of on your region. So hopefully there could be a meetup that happens before they come to Santa Clara, different events like that. And then also some departments will also be presenting to students and having some sort of event, whether it's like a difficult dialogue event or a leadership program, anything like that is posted in the events. And so there's a lot of events to choose from. So highly recommend that, especially as they're transitioning to becoming a first year student of college. It could be really scary. And especially for someone like me, I'm very introverted. And so it's a good opportunity to be able to log into Zoom and meet some people, and helps me transition for once I get to campus and I'm seeing all my friends and people in person. It helps me get out of my RLC room and be like, okay, I've met with, let's say, the Pokemon Go Club, because I believe they're hosting a Pokemon Zoom event that was happening. And I'm like, oh, I know them because I saw them through Zoom. So I'm going to go to their club meeting, and kind of helps with that transition. I know we did get a question of like, my student tends to go like be inside just in class in her room. And so that's definitely a good opportunity to be able to now go through those Zoom events to be able to connect with students. And then there's also a lot of RLC events in their residence hall that they'll be able to attend as well. Especially those first couple weeks of school, they really try to get you to be interactive with each other. So hoping that helps with your students' involvement journey. For contact information, for orientation, anything Bronco Exchange, have any questions throughout this summer, please feel free to email orientation@scu.edu. And then also follow them on social media. So that's where they'll be advertising a lot of the Zoom events that are happening, any quick Q&A on their story or on the post. Like if we're getting a lot of frequently asked questions, they'll be like, oh, here's the link. We've been getting a lot of questions submitted and things like that. So a lot of sharing resources, and then also sharing different departments and programs and what they'll be doing. Now we're going to go to additional resources, other ways to get involved at SCU besides the Center for Student Involvement. Sometimes we get a lot of questions, so we want to make sure that we're also plugging in our additional resources for you all.
Perfect. Thanks, Lori. So first, we're going to start off campus recreation and club sports. So for folks
I think Tanya froze. So I'll present a portion of the slide till she comes back. So for campus recreation, if your student is interested in joining a club sport team, these are the current 17 club sports that we have at SCU. And they're aside from our registered student organizations and chartered student organizations, and they are supported through our campus recreation department. So definitely have your student check out the campus recreation website. There's also intramural sports. So maybe if they're not like ready to join a club sports team and they want to do something that is a little bit more casual, they can do that and join a sports team with just like a bunch of their friends, and it'll go on for a couple weeks, and they can compete with each other for like the championship for that intramural sports. So definitely visit the campus recreation website. For campus ministry, also a great resource for students, and we're super excited because they are renovating this summer. So the event space and their office is going to be completely brand new and renovated for students, and we're super excited for that. There's different involvements throughout campus ministry. Also, they have student staff, they have spirituality facilitators. There's definitely a lot of ways to get involved in events that are happening. And so a way to get connected is there's this Google form for your students to be able to fill out. If they go to the campus ministry website, they'll be able to find this as well. But they're able to connect with a campus ministry staff member to say, oh, here are my areas that I'm interested in. And they'll connect them to like, oh, it would be great for you to go to this club meeting, or here's a resource to our different meditation rooms, things like that. And so it's another way to get involved, and especially visiting their new space. So even as you all as parent family, when you come to campus, please visit the campus ministry space. I believe it'll be open in September after the renovations, because it'll be a pretty awesome space to visit. The Career Center, I know some of you might be like brainstorming for your student of like, when is it time to get an internship, things like that. Definitely visit the Career Center. There are a lot of different workshops that occur throughout the academic year. So whether it's how to use Handshake, which is our website to connect you to internships, on-campus jobs, all of those things, resume workshops, different things to get ready for an interview or networking, different panels that they'll be having. So definitely another resource is visiting the Career Center. Immersions and global engagement. And so if you're interested in our immersion trips, if you've heard them at all, please tell your students about it. If you go to the immersions website, it's really where you get to have that local or global experience of being in a different community. And most of the time you're doing some sort of service or you're learning about something, and there's quite a few programs. Some are a little bit more local. So let's say they'll go to San Francisco, or they'll go to Oakland, some a little far, which not too far like LA, but then others will be like they're going to Mexico on an immersion trip or things like that, to be able to be really in the environment and understanding the marginalized communities and meeting those individuals. And then there's study abroad, which is another great opportunity, and longer for a quarter in that period of time. A lot of these resources will either be tabling on campus, or if you're coming for Welcome Weekend, that Saturday from 9 to 2, there'll be a resource fair. And so for sure, Global Engagement will be there talking about study abroad opportunities, different research and things like that connected with faculty and scholars. And now we will kick it off to our Q&A. I'm going to stop screen sharing so I can see some of you all. And Tanya's back with us, yay. So if you all have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or put yourself a question in the chat, anything like that. If you don't have any questions, you're also welcome to leave the session. And we're also recording it. And so I know we went through it a little bit quicker just because we want the opportunity to have Q&A with you all. We will upload it to our new Student and Family Programs YouTube channel, so you can go back and review this. Some also like to review it with our student of like, hey, these are cool ways to get involved. Let's go through the presentation together and maybe work out a plan or see what you think, things like that. So if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand and we'll get started. And if you have no questions, no worries, you can exit the session as well. Hi.
Hi. I was just curious. Thank you very much for all this information. Do the club sports generally have tryouts, whereas the intramurals are you just kind of grab some friends and sign up, or how are those different from that standpoint?
I don't know if they call it tryouts, but I know they're, do you know if they do tryouts for club sports teams, Tanya? Or is it just kind of like sign up and if you're available with the schedule and everything? I think it depends on how many signups they get as well. I don't think it's on tryouts.
Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you. I think it depends on the sport itself. I think some of the more popular club sports might have tryouts, and they might have different teams. So maybe they'll send one team to play maybe in like a specific division, another team will be somewhere else. So I have seen tryouts in the past, but again, it really depends by the year and many students are interested. For intramural, they have many teams, so most of the time they will take everyone.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah. We have some great questions in the chat. And so, is the only way to get internships through Handshake? No, there are plenty of other opportunities to get internships. You don't necessarily have to go through Handshake. By visiting the Career Center, or even just your student emailing them, they can give you a list of different websites. There's one that's specifically like a very short internship, almost like a trial internship. So where you're able to log in through the SCU link that's on the Career Center website. And you could either like complete a project that has like a 30-day timeline or whatever that it may be. So they're like kind of micro internships they like to refer it to. But yeah, there's definitely other ways, even through the like direct job or like let's say in corporate, like their direct website link where they might be offering internships. How difficult is it to get a campus job? I would say when we have openings for our student positions, we do get quite a lot of applications, which is great because our students want to be able to have the opportunity to work on campus. So I would say if they want to work on their resume and kind of being able to talk about their experience in high school and how it relates to the position, that's super helpful. And then being able to connect with someone from that department just to get more information. And some are just like, oh, not as many students apply, but there might be some where a lot of students apply. And so it's being able just to work on that.
A quick note, just to add to Lori's point, it really depends on the position. Some positions are offer more openings versus some offer limited openings. So we do have a number of campus jobs. It kind of just depends on the position itself and how many openings there are. And also depending on the position, there are different types of compensation. So some students get stipends, some students get paid quarterly, and some are hourly. So it really depends on the position itself and the department.
Awesome. Next question, is the gym open for individual workouts or do they have to join a class? Yes, so Campus Recreation manages our Malley Fitness Center. And so as long as your student has their student ID, they are able to utilize all of the facilities in our Malley Fitness Center. So that's a gym, there's basketball courts. Sometimes they'll set up like a badminton or volleyball on one of those courts as well. And there's games and just like free throws, things like that. There's also a pool, and then there are classes that are held too for fitness classes and like locker rooms, things like that. If they're going in between a class and let's say they're commuting, they're able to get ready and go to class after that. And they'll have some special events and things that happen during the academic year. But yes, it's open for individual workouts. Some great questions. One last thing before we probably sign out, because it looks like we've gotten a lot of questions answered. Oh, Darcy has your hand up. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, sorry. I wanted to thank you again for all the information that you've provided. I do have a question about the into the wild or into the wilderness or into the wild. I guess activity or group. My son kind of found out about it last minute. He's an Eagle Scout, so he's super into adventure. And I know he won't be able to join, I guess, the orientation group because it's kind of too late for that. But I was wondering how he would be able to sign up for it during the school year and if it's too late. Thank you for taking my question.
Great question. Into the Wild is awesome to be able to go to their adventure trips that they usually have every weekend. Sometimes they'll have 2 adventure trips for that weekend. I believe they table every Tuesday in front of Benson. So they'll be right out there as students are getting their food or going to the bookstore. It's right in kind of the central part of campus. And so they will also, let me pull up their Instagram so I can let you all know what the handle is. Into the Wild, SCU. Okay, so their Instagram handle is also SCU Into the Wild. And so that they will let you know when they'll be tabling. So they'll kind of be like, oh, we're tabling today from 11 to 3 or whatever it may be for signups for that weekend or any future trips that they have. And they do quite a lot. They'll do kind of beginner hikes, things like that, but then they'll also do snowboarding and rock climbing and camping for the weekend, or they'll do one-day trips. And so there's really a lot of opportunities for your student to get involved. And so they do table every week to make sure that they're visible for students to be able to sign up. Some events are completely free, like if they're just doing a day hike. Others might have more of a fee. Let's say if they are going snowboarding and they're gonna need like housing for the weekend, they'll have some sort of fee. But they're pretty low just because it is supported by the university. So they do get a lot of funding. They also have like spring break trips. So they went to Kauai this year, Utah, and they had like advanced backpacking, intermediate backpacking, beginner camping. So definitely a lot of opportunities for your students. So make sure they follow SCU Into the Wild. And then there's also the website Tanya put in the chat that you can visit and be able to see more programs that they offer. Great question. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll officially end the session. Tanya and I will stay back just for a minute or two in case you have a specific question, but thank you all for attending our student involvement session.
Sorry, I had a quick question.